All right, we are live with episode 2 of the Darwin Project podcast, The Snowball Effect. I'm your host, 47. Joining me today are my co-host, the Director TV and Rabid Mongoose, and our special guest is Lil Scarecrow with his face reveal. God, look at chat blown up already, dude. Jesus. Oh, man.
Nice.
All right, so it's been about a month since our last podcast. We had a lot of exciting stuff to talk about. It's been a while. A lot of patches, a couple. So, Little Scarecrow, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself first?
So I'm a little Scarecrow. Everyone probably knows me already, honestly. Currently rank 1, so I got that going for me. That's pretty cool, I guess. Good at axes, maybe. Who knows? Pretty bad at arrows. Can't win a tournament, that's for sure. So that about sums it up, you know?
Director, you've been putting out some guys. What have you been up to the last month?
What have I been up to? Well, I'm just thinking about like the drama and the Darwin Project stuff that's going on right now. But besides that, I got drama in my own life as well. Sad face, me and my girl split, but on the upside, I live in Chicago doing my thing. I got a futon, so what up? Pretty much what's going on with me.
Rabid,
What's up?
what you been up to?
I've been took a little extended break, trying to get my health in order. Had a couple things not go the way I wanted them to go, but we're back.
You tell anybody?
We made our return yesterday, and we're back. I'm feeling good.
Dog.
Well, better. So we're back.
All right. Well, all right. Since we'll talk about it later, I want to talk about it right now. Patch notes. Let's just go ahead and get these out of the way right now.
Yo, Grimy, thank you for the raid. I'll acknowledge it.
Yes, Grimy, thank you for the raid. I still have notifications, so if you got here's like weird noises. Let me say this first, just to get this out of the way before we get into the patch notes. I see you guys. You probably see that goal up at the top of the screen. What we want to start doing is hosting tournaments for money. A lot of you guys are just, the top 100 tournaments. You get the silver skin or the gold skin. Fast frags used to be a thing. There's really no money tournaments. I know there was supposed to be one, and the guy ended up not getting paid out, or some drama with that happened. So we want to start playing for money. Have $200 to $300 prize pool tournaments that will be only accepted. We will only be accepting the top 30 players from the top 100 tournament in those. So they'll be invited. So now you kind of have a reason to grind and actually try in those tournaments and have your hand at some money. So with that being said, let's go ahead and check out this patch notes. All right, number 1. This is why we brought Little Scarecrow here. Let's go ahead and talk about the role.
Are you gonna show his video ever?
Yeah, I'll show his video.
I can't wait. That's gonna blow everybody's mind in here.
I'll show it after we're done talking about the patch notes. So let's go ahead and talk about the role. Little Scarecrow, thoughts on the role?
I think so. At first, I was really skeptical about it. Thought it was actually a terrible thing. But after what has it been, like a week and a half, or whatever it has been, I think it's actually pretty balanced. The side roll is definitely the most powerful. The back roll makes absolutely no sense. The forward roll is like but overall I think it's actually a really good addition because it allows for more plays. Like, the big thing is that people like hate how people hold the bow out, and this allows for someone to come over and just get rid of that play style completely, and it mixes up the meta a bit in so I think it's actually pretty solid.
Director?
Yeah, honestly, not trying to self-promo, but I'm going to self-promo. We just came out with a video, me, Scarecrow, Gomedasai. I just posted that a little bit ago.
You can link
over
it.
The role.
You can link it in the chat.
I mean, yeah, I think I have it in my thingy. I'll do it in a minute. But yeah, basically, we went over all the shrink and the roll and everything like that, how it works. And the side roll is it's busted. Like, the amount of distance in the hitbox off of that roll has changed the game. I feel like because there's 3 rolls, right? You got that forward axe roll. Going with that, that's a good axe roll if you want to go around kind of a corner because you can actually turn while you're in that roll and you can hit people. The only downside of that is you have that stun lock for a brief moment right after, so that does open up to everybody else. Other than that, the side roll, big, hitbox, everything like that.
That hitbox is enormous.
And then the backwards roll, you're kind of blind, so you got to be careful with that when you do it. I did see in my video actually too, like Gomez lands one on Scarecrow, and I was like, oh my god, it's got to be more of like a preemptive kind of thing that you do. So that's all I got for you.
You know who's a monster at the roll is Rabid's favorite person, Mr. Steph Knight.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He's a monster with those things, man.
Yeah, he's pretty good with the roll. Not so good at dodging nukes, or manhunts, but pretty good at the roll.
Oh, he's in chat too. There we go. Look at that. What's up, Steph Knight? Rabid, what are your thoughts on the roll?
I think the roll is great. I think that the roll gives a nice little change to the fighting experience that we didn't have before. Back in the day, you had 2 options. You could try to parry an arrow. You could try to dodge an arrow. That was kind of it. Now you can close the gap with your roll. You can pull off a couple of different tricks. You can gain more distance so that you can work towards armor, health kits, anything like that. There's just so many different options that get opened up when you have that field of movement. Since the beginning, have been building 2 movement electronics. Movement is kind of the key in this game. A lot of people go with the regular speed boots. Movement is key. So when you add another movement mechanic into the game and you make it so that it's essentially free as long as you're working with your stamina, it changes the dynamic of the fight. And it makes the fights, in my experience directing, it makes the fights a lot more interesting to see because it's more of a strategic move now instead of a who's a better shot. It's who can outplay the other person a little bit more than it used to be.
Yeah. I especially like the fact, and I think one of the big ways it's used now is tree battles, whereas it was just kind of back and forth, trying to dodge around the tree and who could catch the axe around the backside. Now you can actually kind of roll around the tree or side hit through the tree, like around the tree, and it kind of stops people from just standing on either side dancing back and forth forever trying to figure out who's going to catch that first axe.
Yeah, I do want to say too, like that roll, we love the roll and everything like that, but it does not replace a parry. So I feel like I've heard people say like, yeah, dude, I just roll to dodge arrows. It doesn't replace a parry or like a deflect of an arrow. Like you still, when you're going around the side of a tree, instead of rolling around the side of a tree, you should definitely still swing because that's the only guarantee way you're going to block that arrow.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. It doesn't change the parry aspect. It just gives you more options, so you can switch from defense to offense with just the click of a button now, instead of constantly trying to parry arrows and giving them the tempo of the fight. You can start moving the momentum in your favor by closing the distance instead of just standing there essentially playing baseball with their arrows.
And that being said, you can still, if you're like on the receiving side of it, so if someone's rolling towards you, you can parry with them still, or you can shoot them with an arrow. I found that shooting an arrow at someone who's rolling is actually probably like the best bet. I don't know why, like every time I try to swing, I always end up parrying, but every arrow I try to shoot at them, if they're coming at me, it always hits. So there's like enough counters to the roll where like if someone's coming at you and have fast enough reaction time, you could still kind of get away with like, it's not like a free hit like the Teleax. So it definitely has like its balance part there, which I think is really good,
Speaking of that, should or should not Teleax remain in the game?
No.
Oh, come on.
I'm a big no on that too, man.
What?
I love the Teleax. It's the coolest.
Yeah, me too. Come on.
It's cool to see.
It's a free hit, but
it's cool to see.
It's not a free hit, though.
It is.
We're starting to see more and more clips. I can find you clips for days of people who, now that it's harder to hit, I'm going to air quote here, harder to hit, now that it's harder to hit, people missing and getting killed, people getting hit with arrows while they're trying to teleax, people getting outplayed, the distance not being right. It's not as consistent as it used to be. It's not as easy as it used. Again, I'm finger quoting here. It's not as easy as it used to be. And the same thing is, you still have to aim it. It's still a projectile. If you can miss an arrow, you can miss a teleax. It's not a free hit. It's just harder to deflect than an arrow. It's harder to counterplay than an arrow. But I think that this game needs to have a skill gap. So if somebody can consistently do a play like that that's at a higher tier difficulty, let them do that, because this game needs to have a skill gap. You can't just water down the game because some people figured out a way that other people either can't do or don't know how to outplay.
Yeah, maybe I misphrased that. It's not a free hit, but I mean, you get what I'm saying with that. It's that quick hit that's going to come out. It's just like if you practice it enough, even now, you're going to be able to get it in the right direction and most likely hit your target. Of course, there's always like, you could still parry that. You could still hit somebody an arrow while they're doing it. I've seen people do the telly and then get hit with the arrow and it stops them dead in their tracks and their teleport. So like, I mean, yeah, but no, it should be staying in the game, hands down. Like I feel like they should have something else that's kind of similar in a way. For movement, I feel like they should definitely have another fast movement ability coming out.
Scarecrow
My main
kind
problem,
of
yeah, my main problem with the teleax isn't the fact of just the teleax going out and hitting someone. I actually love that. It's a great feeling, you know, when you hit it. My problem with it is that there's no way to know that it's coming. Everything in this game is counterable in some sense. Like someone pulls out an arrow, you know they're gonna shoot an arrow at you. If someone's running up on you with a speed drink, you know that that's happening. Like everything, you know, is actually going through. The teleax, you have no way of knowing that someone has a teleport on them. And especially with things like Axe Sharpener, if that's a 275 axe, that's almost half your health just gone, and there's nothing you could possibly have done about that, you know? That's my main problem with it. If there was a way to tell that someone was about to teleport, then I would 100% love it, honestly. I think that'd be the best thing, to at least know that it's coming at you.
So
I would
like
do the line instantly. Well, if somebody's, you know, if they don't do it instantly, you can see the line where they're about to teleport. Maybe just incorporate that into it, you know, right when they hit that button.
But they can do it instantly, though. That's the problem.
What I'm saying. Maybe like incorporate that line so you could maybe roll out of the way or swing or something. Because yeah, they just randomly wind up and go.
Maybe change the character model's color when give them like a blue outline when they've queued up teleport or something. Some kind of visual cue or an audio cue, something. I mean, I guess that makes sense. At the same time, I don't know. It's one of those things that I hate to use the early access defense, but I think that this is one of those things that it has more of a chance to be smoothed out as we move forward than something that should be removed from the game. Because if you remove it from the game, you're essentially saying this has, for no reason, this has no place in this game whatsoever. There's no reason to have it. There's no play to it. It's gone. It's dead. It's buried. It's done. Whereas, like, if we leave it in the game at the state that it's in right now, we can at least move it, change it, mold it as the early access continues. Because again, I mean, according to the roadmap, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're looking at what Q1 2019 is the supposed release.
Yeah.
So I mean, we've still got Casper. Thank you for the raid. We've still got
Pacific is next guest. Sorry to cut you off.
We've still got plenty of time, you know, to change stuff like that. So I mean, I would say maybe give it an audio cue. The teleport sound, it has a sound already associated with it. Maybe give it like a wind up sound or something like that. Anything to kind of work with that. At the same time, a lot of people will tell you, well, if you don't have armor, what are you doing? You know, 275 into armor is just your armor being broken.
Yeah. I mean, if it wasn't for Teleaxe, Gomensai would never fall in the lava, so at least there's that.
Oh, man.
Yeah, maybe we should keep it in that case.
That's what I'm saying. It's his
that.
favorite thing to do. You know he's going to respond to you. All right, so back into the patch notes. Let's see, what's the next one? Let's see what we got. All right. Here it comes. I'm gonna start with
Can you
Rabbit
show
on
that
this
video?
one.
Oh,
Yeah,
you should
I
show
will
that
show-
video.
No.
I'm
Keep
so
it
excited for it.
No.
I will
Don't
show the
send it.
video. All right, relax. Rabid beach party, go.
Okay, I'm gonna. Oh my goodness.
Everybody, get ready for this.
I'm going to be. I'm going to water it down as much as I possibly
gentle.
can because I don't want a 4-hour podcast. So I'm less upset about the power itself after casting the top 100 tournament. However, it did kind of prove me right. I purposely put it in to the top 100 tournament and did not tell anybody that I put it in. So I didn't let anybody get ready for it. I let them run the regular meta that they normally have, whatever it is. And at the end of, I believe it was my first match, the person who won had crafted 13 armors. 13. That's a 1-3. So we were doing the math, and that's 1,950 health that they prevented because of the director build that I was running. And that's one of those things where it's like, I think that that's too much. I think that that gives way too much of an advantage to people who just want to sit back and farm. And that kind of stops the competitive aspect. I am always going to be the person that wants to push this into the esports scene. I am going to be, I'm going to continue to be the person that wants to push this towards competitive. And I think that that kind of holds back from the competitive. That's all I'm going to say on the actual aspect of what the power does. Grimy, off of what you just said, if you keep pressure, they can't build arrows. In a tournament, in a final zone, they didn't keep pressure. It was in the final zone. Nobody wanted to keep pressure because they didn't want to leave themselves exposed. I knew that that was going to happen. Manhunt Top 100 Finals is competitive. It wasn't a final. So the one thing that I do want to talk about the actual power that I believe needs to change is the visual aspect of this is a game that in one way or another, even though it's marketed to a older, it's marketed to an older demographic. I think that even the implied your character is naked, I think that needs to go. I think that changes a lot of ideas, even though a lot of the people that play it are old enough to be able to handle that kind of material, be able to handle that kind of media. I think that it needs to go. I don't think that there's a place for it. Put them in swimsuits, put them in something. It's funny. It's memey. I know that Scavenger likes making like jokes and memes. I mean, one of the roadmaps, Simon said he was going to Mars. I know that they like making memes. I know that they like making jokes. I'm totally okay with that. I don't have a problem with that. But like for that, I really think that needs to go. As a parent, as somebody who wants my kids to get into this game at some point,
Yeah, absolutely.
I wouldn't let them play this game. Specifically, well, not just for that. There's something else that we need to talk about later, and it's on here, but that doesn't help. I know that a lot of people have brought it up. I'm really just rehashing things that other people have said.
Do you think that, and I'm just throwing it out here, nobody crucify me here. Do you think that in a lobby, because director powers are what they are, do you think in order to get ready for that there should be a way to see a director set up before the game starts?
No, absolutely not. The reason I say that is because people would all be able to base their build around what the director had. I mean, unless you want to go that route and say, yeah, that's okay. Like we want to.
Wouldn't that be
let
more
everyone
competitive
see
in
it.
that sense?
Yeah. So it's, you know, for example, let's go back a little bit. When Blood Moon, you could use a smoke and it would disable Blood Moon entirely. You could not be seen while everyone else could for the people that weren't running smoke. So for that example, like then everyone would be like, okay, I'm going to switch to smoke. So it's like then you have all these people that are essentially getting ahead of the game based off of the deck. Personally, I know me, like anyone who's been in my games knows I run a fair game. Like I never, even now that they're like no single target abilities, I've never done that anyway, so it's not a huge deal. But for other directors, like I would say on a competitive side, you should not be able to. But if you're going to kind of go like a public game, I would feel it's not a bad idea, just for the fact that like you see like a lot of the newer directors, people don't really know what's going on. The rating system's gone, so I really miss the rating system. But
Yeah,
there's
I
no
do too.
discipline. Like they can run nukes, they can run Gravstorm, whatever. I'm not saying necessarily anything those things are bad, but like in a public match, I mean, kind of go either way, like of how you want to decipher whether you should do that or not.
Yeah, I agree with that. My only thought is like even if you were running Blood Moon and having to make smoke, you're still burning resources to make those. So you still kind of have to make a decision on whether or not you're going to evade the Blood Moon or build your axe sharpener or whatnot. But I don't necessarily. I was just throwing that out there, guys. I'm not a proponent for that. I don't think you should see director powers. It throws off the game entirely. I was just asking. Let me see what else.
Here, can I touch on the beach
Yeah,
party
I was gonna. Yeah, moving on. Yeah, go ahead.
No,
Yeah.
Scarecrow.
I think because I actually have an interesting take on it. I think and I've said this a lot. So detector is obviously the worst electronic ever. It's always been the worst electronic. And what they've done with Beach Party is exactly what I think they should have done to detector. If you think about it, if you have detector on, and let's say that it showed you everything around you like it normally does, and it gives you double the or it gives you double the wood or leather or whatever it is from a chest during that duration, it's not at a global scale, so not everyone's going to get super, buffed out